As I study the LGUs across the country and discuss varying issues with local government leaders, it was evident that government is ripe with nuances. That is why local leaders must have ears close to the ground, feet planted on reality, really big hearts, and a lot of patience. But while we always have to remember that cookie-cutter approaches to good governance do not work, there are a few basics that must be put in place. Some of these are encapsulated in the bills that I filed when I served in Congress. This included the People Empowerment Bill, which pushed for a creation of a local people's council in every city and municipality in the country to do parallel work in governance, the people participation in the budget deliberations bill, which requires that people be included in the budgetary process, and many others. I brought with me in my brief stint in Congress all the lessons on servant leadership I got from Jessie, and the wealth of experience I gathered from all the years that I was a human rights lawyer. After assuming the vice presidency, we conceptualized an anti-poverty program called Angat Buhay, which is also a continuation of my life's work for the poor. We have chosen to adopt 50 of our poorest, farthest, and smallest towns, and are trying to get help from our development partners and private companies for them. Metrobank Foundation is a partner. We are involving them in crafting the solutions they know will work for their communities. As a result, they feel empowered and they own their projects. They are no longer treated as mere beneficiaries, but are now partners and stakeholders. The success rate is higher when the people themselves are involved. So every week, two or 3 days a week, we visit some of the farthest and most forgotten communities in search of ways to serve our people where the need is greatest. I do not know if you have heard of Agutaya. Agutaya is such a place. It is an island town. You can only reach after a 10-hour boat ride from Coron. This place is so far away that people cried when we arrived because they said it was the first time that they had been visited by a national government official. As they showed us around, we noticed that the grade 5 students were as small as the grade 1 students and learned that they were stunted, which is an irreversible condition. Their Yolanda damaged school was still unusable 4 years after the storm surge hit their shores. It was hard for the locals to recover because their only source of livelihood, which was harvesting seaweeds, had been overrun by commercial boats. They had no way to protect themselves because their only patrol boat was no longer working. Nakakatawa yung kwento nito na kung bakit nasira yung patrol boat. Sabi nila, si GMA po yung nakasira. Sabi namin, bakit si GMA nakasira? Kasi po pumunta siya sa nearby islands, pabalik-balik pong ginamit ng mga PSG. but you know, since I've heard of their problem, I already discussed it with the governor and he promised to take care of it. We need to follow up a few months after if he did took care of it. We left our hearts in Agutaya and vowed to return with help. This is proof that if we want to serve our countrymen, we have to go where they are. It is not enough that we just send help. We have to experience firsthand their difficulties. Our presence will give them hope and the comfort that they have not been forgotten. We cannot dictate solutions. We need to listen with empathy, not sympathy. Empathy requires us to ask powerful questions so we can act swiftly and effectively. In my decades of experience as an alternative lawyer, when the poor speaks and let us into their lives, the window of service can close swiftly. Helping is not something that must be put off. In the words of Father James Keenan, S.J., and I quote, "Mercy is the willingness to enter into the chaos of another," close quote. Entering into another's chaos or in this case, people's poverty, sounds easy. But in reality, it is difficult. It means we cannot meet anger with anger. We cannot solve injustice with another injustice. Our people are angry at government, but we must approach them only with empathy. As we enter into somebody else's chaos, that is when we discover our own chaos. That is when we realize our own poverty and limitations, and the poverty of other people from the different areas of the country. It is during this point when we begin to open ourselves to collaborating with other individuals. If you think about it, this is the whole essence of democracy and engagement. Earlier, I asked the question, what kind of leaders do we need today? And how do we nurture and support them? It has become clear to me that Chinelas leadership is truly the vehicle for empathy and the hope that we so desperately need today. It is the antithesis to the hatred and polarity so prevalent in our national discourse. It leads to sustainable progress as proven by our home city of Naga's transformation from a poor municipality to a first-class city. Given time, it can heal our nation from frustration because it gives people their voice and brings government close to the people. Shared with the world, it paves the way for effective collaboration instead of withdrawal from globalization. How do we nurture leaders who will lead with empathy and integrity and who will embrace Chinelas leadership? Apart from character, what a leader needs is to be surrounded by people who will engage to understand, not just to criticize. A citizenry that embraces its role in keeping its leaders honest and sincere. A nation that appreciates the value of good governance and the freedoms that democracy brings. Maraming salamat po. Magandang gabi muli sa inyong lahat.